Hey, Clear Lake peeps. Ross England here, Clear Lake Guide Service with your fishing report for February 17th, 2022. I hosed up last report, so I did it right this time. That's one. So, how y'all doing? Well, let's see. Here's what's going on. Sorry that I'm coming to you from the garage. We didn't get done fishing today till 5 o'clock. By the time I got home, started a fire in the fireplace and whatnot, it was like, oh, it's almost dark outside. So, another garage shot. I apologize for that. Okay, conditions. Conditions are no change on the lake level. We're still at a 1/2 foot Rumsey, plus a 1/2 foot Rumsey. Doesn't look like anything is going to change that the next 2 or 3 weeks. So I wish I had some better news. We're all waiting for it. We're all hoping for it. We're all talking about rain dancing, miracle, March miracles, you name it. Everything's being thrown out there, but so far, it ain't raining. Flip side of that, the weather's sure been nice. So we're at plus 0.5 Rumsey. All the launch ramps that have been functional are still functional. That includes Konocti Vista Casino. Somebody asked about that last time, and I know I mentioned it, but nonetheless, the only major one that's still closed is Lucerne. All the rest are still open. And as far as I know, I haven't talked to anybody who's run into any problems. Water conditions. Let's talk about the looks of the water. It looks like hell. It's stained. It moves around. I still don't know if it's an algae bloom, if it's a combination of algae and the wind event we had the last couple days, which blew into the north end pretty good. I thought it was the wind, but then, I got down into below the Narrows today, and man, it was looking nasty as well. Now, I know there were some places I got into last week down like in Konocti Bay where, I could see 5 feet. I mean, it was clear. That was the nicest water I'd seen in a long time. But what I've seen since the last report, we'll call it, it's just kind of a light coffee stain. I'm not going to call it that really nasty tannic looking stuff, but the watercolor is just not normal. It's not right. Found out that if you did move around a lot, you might find an area where it is clearer if it's somewhat protected for whatever reason. So I really don't have an answer for you. I'm just telling you that it's kind of a mess. Some people don't think they're catching fish because of it. Some people think they're catching fish because of it. So there's the story with the watercolor. The clarity, like I said, down in really clear water, I could see 5.5 feet. Most of what I'm seeing on the upper end and in the rest of the lake that I've gotten into, at best is about 2 feet. In some areas, it's even less than that. So not very good. Activities, water temperature. This is really weird. The last couple of days, we've been down through the Narrows at times. And what we're seeing overall, at least what I'm seeing overall, is it's starting out at 51, high 51s, and working its way up to 56, depending on where you are in the lake. And it's been pretty consistent. I mean, I saw that on the upper end, and I also saw it down in the Redbud arm. Same thing. Today, I left 54.5 degree water this afternoon. Went down, ran into Buckingham, and it was 51.4 down there. So it took a real shot down there and just didn't bounce back. So from what I'm seeing, though, the water temperatures have been pretty doggone good. If I look ahead to next week, we see the return of some mid to high 20-degree mornings again, which means this water temperature is going to cool back down again. It's the same thing that happened last year at this time. So enjoy it now, probably one more week, and these fish are going to get all freaked out again. So that's what's going on with the water temperature. Activities coming up this coming weekend. On Saturday is a New Gen team tournament. Sorry, I do not know where it's going out of. I'm going to assume that it's going out of Lakeport, but it may not be. I don't know. I just know it's going to be a New Gen team. So it'll be a fairly decent sized event. See, let's switch gears. A lot of conversation, a lot of contacts, a lot of communication about people wanting to know how the crappie bite is. I don't know. I'm not seeing where I'm fishing. I'm not seeing anybody fishing for them. And usually this time of year, if there's a crappie bite, there's 50 boats sitting on top of one school of fish. So I have not been around that school of fish. I talked to Jimmy down at Clear Lake Bait and Tackle the other day, and he said he's not hearing a whole lot of positive either. There's a few guys who are catching some fish at night, but other than that, so that's my report on crappie. If I see anything that pops up that's more than just one school of fish somewhere, I'll report it. But otherwise, I just don't have a crappie report. The fishing report. Let's talk about bass fishing for a little bit. It's kind of interesting because one of two things has happened over this past week. We've had awesome weather, really warm days. I mean, the shame of it is it should be pouring and nasty, but the reality is it's way beyond spring-like weather out here. It's very, very comfortable, calm. Just, it's nice. So, but here's one or two things that's happened. Either I finally figured out the bite, or the bite's just getting better. So it's just my style, but the bite's got to be getting better because it can't be me. So over the last couple of trips that we've had out since our last report, we've been getting past the 10 fish mark finally, consistently, 10 to 20 fish, and 18 and a half to 21 pound limits. So the fishing, I'm going to finally turn around and say, because stumbled onto it somewhere, I guess, or the bite just got better because of the water temperature. The fishing is pretty fair. Not saying that you can go everywhere, because I know I've talked to a couple of people, including my partner, who have tried to find a bite, in other areas, and it's just not there. So I think it's the same thing. I think everybody's down around Rattlesnake for the most part. You see some people, up in Nice, a few people in Lucerne, but the state park area, for whatever reason, that whole area in there just seems to be really slow so far. So I still have to, for what we've been doing over the past week, and the fact that I can't whine and sniffle about it anymore, the fishing's fairly decent. The nice thing is, regardless how many fish we're catching, they're just really good, solid fish. A lot of 3 1/4 to 3 1/2 pounders. We've had a 6. We've had, we lost one about that size today. And one of our other trips, we had one 5+. So, we're finally starting to get a decent limit of fish. 3 1/4 to 3 1/2 pounders with one fish over 5 pounds each day. Very happy to report that for however long it lasts. It's just the way this year's gone. So I've had a couple of people ask me about live bait. Don't really know. I talked to a couple of guides today and yesterday, and they said it wasn't that great. So I'll just have to use their words about that and say, well, that, the live minnow deal isn't so hot yet either. So, and you got to remember, with all this really nice weather, it's still winter. It's still early in the year. So it always happens when you get, a really nice window of super, super good weather. We think the fish are just going to go crazy, and nah, not always. So I think that's going to be our report because I'm tired. I think I gave you all the information that I could that I need. The baits we used this week, all reaction. Some A-rig fish, some rip bait fish, underspin fish. Kind of the same players with the exception of the A-rig. I didn't throw it. One of my clients did, and he was catching fish on it. So, but I told you guys that it would work. It's just I didn't want to throw it. Other than that, that's about it. It just seems like, for whatever reason, throwing a plastic around, whether it's a shaky head or a drop shot, at least for me, I'm probably just not fishing it slow enough to get bites. So anyway, there's our report. We'll definitely have a report next week. Have a good weekend.